Hi, my loves. Welcome to Universal Intimacy, the podcast, episode 19 on sacred medicine, therapeutic psychedelics, and ayahuasca as teacher. I'm so blessed to be joined by my friend Kate, my wisdom keeper and medicine woman who I have journeyed with. Kate studied with the Psychedelic Therapy Training Group, which is now known as Ecstatic Mysticism. Their training is a radical and profound initiatory program that focuses on educating and preparing self-aware, mature, and skillful seekers and leaders who are of service in their communities and the world through 2 and 3 year really intense programs, which Kate underwent, and we talk about that in this episode. We talk about her journeys with Peyote, with Iboga in Africa, and with ayahuasca in Ecuador. We also talk about her facilitation of the medicines of clinical trialed MDMA and Ketamine, and all the phases from the dieta and the preparatory phases all the way through the importance of integration. We also talk about expansive relational containers and how important it is to journey in community and to be in presence and prayer and to destigmatize prayer in these ceremonies where we're singing and we're dropping into our bodies together. We close out talking about being queer and moms, about this new parenting paradigm and new relational paradigms that we are living in, where we're adding in more instead of taking away, and we're calling in more liberation and less limitations. And what does it mean to be modern day moms? And what does it mean to be living beyond the 3D reality and really being here in the field of expanding states of love and acceptance and belonging for all. Enjoy.
Welcome to Universal Intimacy.
Wow. I am here with my friend Kate in your beautiful home on this idyllic wintry day of December, and just feeling so grateful that you've invited me into your space and we get to have this really intimate conversation that we're intentionally keeping as audio only, which is a first for me here on Universal Intimacy. And so, yeah, just to name this for my audience and listeners and followers and to share the intentionality behind this being an audio-only podcast is this awareness that the work that Kate does and what we are going to be discussing here today is deeply sacred and underground, because the work of psychedelics and assisted medicine therapies is still something that we need to protect and preserve the magic and the mystery behind the medicine. And so I'm really excited to be with Kate as a wisdom keeper, as a guide, as a space holder, as a phenomenal facilitator of transformational journeys, fusing shamanic, indigenous, tribal wisdom and cultures with various medicines, substances, and also fusing that with the fields of modern psychedelics to help humans on their healing journeys of connection, of deepening in awareness and expansion and liberation. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being with me, Kate.
Thank you so much, Josephine. Josephine. What do you prefer in this setting?
Thank you for asking. My born name is Josephine. It was my grandmother's name, and my priestess name is Josephina. So I've actually gone through a reclamation now of like reclaiming my born name of Josephine, because I'm coming out from my journey through the underworld.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Inanna.
Yes.
She has risen.
Yeah.
Well, great. Josephine, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure to share what I know and what I do with you. And I'm really excited for our conversation.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for agreeing to do it off camera. You know, unfortunately, psychedelics are still not recognized for their health benefits, their actual therapeutic benefits. It's coming slowly but surely, slower than I thought it would after spending 3 years doing my training, thinking I was going to get out of it and that the world will have changed by then. But the world has changed, but not in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am appreciative of the anonymity.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, beautiful. You referenced your training in those 3 years, and maybe we could start there of just understanding what took you into this world and what that experience was like. And yeah.
Yeah, so I feel very blessed to have been able to go through what used to be called the Psychedelic Therapy Training Program. It's now called Ecstatic Mysticism. When I did it, it was a very small training. There were 3 cohorts, and the foundation of the training was that there was a large online component where we were studying more Western therapeutic modalities. And then that was, classes each week. And then twice a year, we would go to study in the field. So once a year, we would spend 2 weeks in indigenous communities that held the wisdom of the specific medicine that we were studying. And then once a year, we would go for like a group training with our cohort where we would have more experiential, it was all experiential, but experiential training with more of the sort of Western therapeutic modalities, medicines like LSD and MDMA and ketamine. Whereas when we're going into the indigenous communities that held the traditions of these medicines, we were working with Peyote, Iboga, and Ayahuasca.
Okay, here we go. All right. Peyote, Ayahuasca, Iboga. Which one do you want to start with? I feel like these are all medicines that maybe ayahuasca has been referenced on this podcast before as some of my guests have sat with grandmother. But you're really my first experiential expert in these fields. And so, let's just start with one of those and just share your experience and, really defining what the medicine is and where it comes from and what cultures it's connected with and what the benefits are for those that sit and journey.
Yeah. So, ayahuasca has been really the sort of who I would call her my primary teacher. It's the medicine that I go to for my own work and the medicine that I hope to really drop deeper in as my own path unfolds. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go into the community of the Ai people. The Kofan is another name for their tribe. And they are in the Ecuadorian Amazon. And their sort of form of ayahuasca that they drink, they call it yahe.
Yahe.
And it was the first pilgrimage that we went on in this training that I did. And, I had to fly to, I can't even remember now, it was so many years ago, but it was like days of travel, on planes, buses, open air vehicles, trucks to get to canoes that then we went down the river for hours before we arriving into their community. And really I was blessed to be able to have a very immersive experience with multiple ayahuasca ceremonies or yahe ceremonies. And then also, walking through the jungle with these people and learning about their medicines and having them so generously share this earth-based wisdom that they've been carrying for time immemorial. So
the plant, tell us, it's from a root or bark of a tree. Tell
ayahuasca is a combination between a vine, and if you look over there, which our listeners won't be able to see, but Josephine, you can see it. That is an ayahuasca plant right there.
What?
Yeah,
you're growing ayahuasca.
Just one plant to bring her beautiful energy into my home. So that vine, the vine takes about 7 years before it's even mature to be harvested. But it's a brew between the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf, and they're brewed with water in a very ceremonial way for many, many days as it's overseen. I haven't actually gotten the privilege of brewing it myself yet, though I think that will be something that I will be able to go back next year. I think I'm planning to go back in November next year, and we'll get to learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the vine is said to hold the wisdom, and then the leaf has the DMT. And so together, the vine, I'm so not up on my science about it, but the vine, you probably have heard of like 4-NN-DMT or 5-MeO-DMT, these other DMT substances that when, smoked or taken into the body, they open up the gates, but only for maybe 10 minutes. And then the gate closes back up. But the wisdom of the vine mixed with the leaf of the chacruna plant actually opens up these gateways between the worlds for hours. So that's what kind of gives ayahuasca a little bit of its special.
Yeah, so that we naturally produce DMT.
Yeah, from what I understand, it is produced when we're born, when we die, and at night when we're dreaming.
Right.
So it's sort of this chemical that opens the gates between our world and the spirit world.
And in those states of the gates opening, what can journeyers... what can happen? Anything can happen. I'm trying to be eloquent with my words. What happens in an ayahuasca journey?
Anything can happen. I've learned over the years that what happens for me is not what happens for you, is not what happens for somebody else. And my experience of this divine energy it's only my experience. And it's actually a really beautiful metaphor and perspective, and it taught me a lot about life.
Yeah.
I used to actually think that my opinion was the truth. I really did. I thought that forever. And I think it was like until I drank ayahuasca where I was like, oh my God, it's just my opinion.
Right.
Which really only matters to me.
Yeah.
It's quite awakening.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, so tell if you're open to sharing about like one of your journeys or something that she showed you other than what you just shared, which is a beautiful
that
nugget to take away.
That was an early one.
Like an ego death. Like, that is just my opinion. I can easily let that go. Or
I think that what I discovered, and this is what I like an embodied learning was I went for one of my first ayahuasca journeys, and I had this extremely divine encounter. Like I was in the seat of creation. There was this like sparkling star of light that, was sort of like emitting creation energy. And I was a part of it and I could see it. And I was like I was the divine. And it was this unbelievable experience of like absolute oneness and beauty. And I came out of it assuming that that's what everybody experienced. And when I started to listen to everybody else's stories, like nobody experienced what I experienced. That was only my experience. And it gave me this perspective on experience itself and on truth and on communication. Like you and I could witness the same thing, but your story and my story are different because 100%. Our perspectives are different. So that was a really, I think, a big teaching for me. I've had, who knows, countless experiences over the years.
Yeah.
But
and that's really what's so exquisite about ceremony and community. And I don't want to go straight to a couple weeks ago when I was pondering sitting with you in ceremony, and you were like, well, come and do an individual session. And I was like, no. I want community. I want the ceremony. And it's precisely for that, right? It's not just, this is my own experience. I'm on this individual healing journey. It's that when we gather together and we are in the same set and setting that is intentionally sacredly held, and we're imbibing or choosing to take in one of these medicines, we get to have our own individual experience and simultaneously feel into the collective and feel into like all those different iterations. It's like, wait, we're in the same thing. We're listening to the same music and we're taking the same thing, and yet my experience is so unique and so different from hers and his and theirs.
Yes, you are really getting me excited here because one of my favorite topics is why group ceremony is so important and such an amazing therapeutic process in comparison to one-on-one therapy in any context. Yeah. And I think the individualism of our culture has, and I'm sure you talk about this all the time with your listeners and with your friends and everybody in your world is, shame and the unwillingness to be vulnerable, being unable to be vulnerable, and wanting to do things then privately. I'll talk to my therapist about that, or like I'll just have these one-on-one conversations. Like we've been sort of trained against group process because, well, what if I look, I don't know, then we're afraid that we're going to look bad or we're going to have to be vulnerable in front of everybody else, and that is somehow a negative. And the truth is that when we're in right relationship and community, our vulnerability is a gift to everybody, right? Like my healing is your healing. My share is something that deeply can change and transform your experience because you are also feeling seen or you feel what 100%. I feel.
The power of being witnessed and the vulnerability. And then also, like you said, to hear that your experience, you can see yourself in the other. Yes. And we start to kind of stop to see what separates us, and we start to feel and experience and see what truly connects us. And this
totally.
I'm
and
so
sometimes
about this.
The most impactful moments of these retreats are sitting in that sharing circle and 100%, listening to what came up for somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then feeling brave enough to be able to share what came up for you.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Universal Intimacy, the community. So many of you want to be in my field, want to work with me, want to stay informed and updated. And now I've designed a way for you to do so. It's called Universal Intimacy, the community. The community is really about creating pathways for lifelong learners, curious souls and seekers who are interested in these fields of sexuality, of somatics, of tantra, of kink, BDSM, all the things that may be part of your experience or maybe part of what you're calling in or desiring. And you really want to approach this from a way that feels conscious, informed, and elevated. Universal Intimacy, the community, launches in February. You can join us and become a member now by listening to this podcast. You can, at checkout, use the code UI for an 11% discount. If you join the community today, you will be considered a founding member. And as a founding member, you get access to the community calls, which happen twice a month. This is a virtual call over Zoom. Again, we'll cover so many different topics related to sex, love, and relationships. One call a month will be led by me with Q&A from all of you. And the second call will be led by many of my friends in the field. These are experts in intimacy, sex, love, relationships, tantra, BDSM, all the things. I'm calling in such an epic lineup. So many friends already signed on to be a part of Universal Intimacy, the community. So again, you get access to 2 monthly calls. You get access to the 24/7 chat room of Universal Intimacy, the community. And if you sign up today as a founder, you also will get free tickets to all of my urban intimacy workshops hosted here in Chicago and across the globe. And you will get a personal invite to the Temple of Loha retreat in 2026. Sign up today for Universal Intimacy, the community. Use code UI at checkout for 11% off. I can't wait to have you in the community, and I can't wait to connect with you deeper.
Okay, so ayahuasca, anything? Yeah, another question, just going back to the process. I love that you share the journey, the flights, that all thing, and also like the dieta, maybe talk about that, because a lot of folks... I think it's such a critical part of working with any medicine, and I think it's important to kind of shed a light on it. I know for myself,
the dieta is sometimes even more like intense than the journey because it's like, okay, once you make that commitment of like, yes, I'm going to sit with this medicine, then you're already in that communion with the medicine.
Yeah. And with the self. So when talking about dieta, we're, essentially we're also, we'll naturally kind of talk about preparation for any psychedelic experience. And the idea of the dieta is a ayahuasca tradition that I don't actually know that much about because, as I was sharing before, I haven't gotten the privilege to really like learn directly under an indigenous teacher with this medicine, which is something I'm hoping for my life at some point.
Yeah, you're calling it in.
I'm calling it in.
Naming it. Yeah.
The people that I went and did my training with and that I will continue to learn from in Ecuador don't have a specific protocol, or weren't given a specific protocol before our journeys, but there are many, the Shipibo tradition is a really kind of common one that we'll hear a lot about in the United States and around the world. And they do a dieta, which is a preparatory diet for drinking the medicine, where we really eliminate a lot of the, distracting things in our diet. So big flavors, big, salts, and then things that are sort of counterindicated for whatever their reasons are.
What is the reason for the salt, though? I love that you're presenting it this way. I haven't heard it articulated in this way of eliminating things that are sort of enhancing or like intensifying our human experience. So is that the only reason behind the sodium, or is there a heart thing? Like if I got to eliminate sodium because it's
like for safety.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not probably I have other people that we can get on your podcast that'll know more about this. But one of the things that I remember one of my teachers sharing with me was, she said, imagine you're having a dinner party and you've invited a very, very important guest. She's the star of the dinner party. You don't want to invite some other guest to the dinner party who's equally as famous and big and loud, because then the impact of this one guest that you're bringing in might be taken away from by this other energy being brought in. So we try to bring down any other big things that we're taking in. And I know you've journeyed with me, so you've kind of done the dieta that I prescribe before my ceremonies. And, with my ceremonies, we're not working with ayahuasca. Usually, I think in the ones that you've come to, we've worked with mushrooms and MDMA and ketamine. And I always ask people to do what I call a non-traditional dieta, which is where you tune into yourself and you choose what is the best thing for me. For some people, that's paleo. For some people, that's vegan. And, like for me, I know that my best diet is whole foods, whole grains, and really eating a lot of very, very healthy whole foods. And I fall off of it, right? Like, I don't do that all the time. I'm married to an Italian American. It's pasta every day around here. So, when I'm leading up to going into ceremony, I really try to eat and live in the ways that I know is the best for me.
Right. And this is the piece with it that I was going to say, it even goes beyond what we as Americans think of in terms of diet, aka food and beverage. It also is related to anything you're taking in and on through, I like to say, your orifices, right? So what are you watching? What are you listening to? Who's entering your field erotically? So it's like, what are you smelling? It's like really eliminating any and all toxicities, processed things, any things that bring you to a heightened state, like
anything
horror
that's distracting
films
too, distracting from your process. Like if you're dating somebody new, that's probably going to distract you from your process. So it might be nice, like the week before you go into your journey, to let them know that like, maybe we need to take a break, just for the week, because I have to focus in on my own process. And it's true, people do have huge experiences. One of my friends who came to our last retreat, I remember her getting on the prep call and being like, this dieta has been so big. And it was just the weeks leading up to the ceremony.
Right. I honestly, I'm being real too, being transparent with you in some of the times, because I know I've been like, yes, I'm a full fuck yes. And then I'm like, I'm a no. It's in this dieta, this concept of like really feeling into like, what am I willing to let go of? What is going to be revealed in this process? And yeah, that's the hardest piece. Once you're here, and you're in like the surrender, I like to say.
Actually brings me to one of my favorite new topics to talk about, which is the idea of preparation for a psychedelic journey.
Please.
So I used to be thinking that we were preparing for the journey itself. You know, we're preparing the body, we're preparing the mind. Who knows what's going to come up? And what I've recognized, you know, and then we do integration after, where we're taking what came up into the journey and integrating it into our life. Like these are pretty common, you know, sort of catchphrases: preparation, integration, set and setting, right? These that we hear in the psychedelic space. But what I've found with preparation is that we're really preparing our fields for the way that the medicine might change us. So as we go into these big peak experiences that could wind up being life-altering, you may have life-altering realizations.
Yeah.
What happens when you come out of that and you have to go back into your life, right? And so when we prepare ourselves for the journey, and this is some of the work that I've been doing, like via Zoom with clients lately, is really dropping into these almost like hypnotic meditative states and helping people to do parts work, finding parts of themselves that can support other parts of themselves, and really preparing the field of awareness. It's not I was calling it a subconscious field, but Mary was like, is it really the subconscious field if you're in there being aware of it?
Right.
And I was like, oh, maybe
no,
it's
actually
not
conscious,
the subconscious field. But it's somewhere between, like we drop in somewhere between subconscious awareness and actual awareness. Like we're going into the field and bringing in the subconscious into awareness. And in this way, we were doing some parts work. We're finding parts of ourselves that can support other parts of ourselves. We are finding the strongest, most aligned parts of ourselves and being able to tune into them more deeply so we can bring them forward more. And we're tuning into the weak, scared, fearful, childlike, dark, shadow parts of ourselves also, so that we can make them feel seen, held, heard, and loved, so that they don't have to react and thwart our, day-to-day interactions with their triggers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much is coming up for me in this share. Because yes, we've talked about parts work, also known as IFS, internal family systems, a lot on this podcast. I feel like every one of my guests references it in some capacity because it's really this framework of understanding the subconscious and the conscious. And kind of what you've named here too is like, not just the shadow states, but all the states within. I like to talk about the various archetypal resonances within, and they don't have to be feminine, masculine, whatever, gendered or not. But it's like, I have a little girl, and my little girl probably will get activated, triggered, awakened during the medicine journey. I will feel the fear of like abandonment, something, right? And so like, what would you say in terms of, like, I'm hearing you reference the parts work in terms of landing and integration, but also are you weaving the parts work in the preparatory calls to be like, hey, these parts of you may get activated in this journey?
That's an interesting question and framework for it, because I do think that, yes, it helps, right?
Yeah.
So when you're having a challenging experience, you may have some tools that you can tap into. And sometimes in the experience itself, like the real wisdom is to just lean in, let go, and allow, and whatever comes up comes. And then how we process it afterwards and create understanding. Oftentimes when we're in the journey, of course, we always take everybody's phones and we tell everybody, don't make any calls or any big decisions right now, because you're not really in your highest conscious, most aware mind, right? We're in all different parts of self as we go into these expanded states.
Yeah.
And so sure, if we're doing this preparatory work, you may have ways to calm yourself or support yourself in that. Or it may be that, you have big experience, whatever it is. And then when you come out of it, you actually have ways to calm and support yourself and actually create the changes that you want to make because you've fortified that field.
Well, right. Can the medicine fortify that field? I guess where I'm starting to go with this as well, because I'm curious as we start to go back and kind of maybe go through some of the other medicines, is also like, are certain medicines capable of activating this inner leader, king, queen, fortifying energy? I'm going to take that phrase because you used it, versus other ones are not. Like, maybe psilocybin is not. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
like
that's a good question.
You can't necessarily say like, oh, I'm doing a 5-MeO journey because I want to activate my inner queen.
Right. Now, each
right?
medicine, I mean, these medicines have their own wisdom, and they also are tools that activate your inner wisdom. I think the best way to go towards, like, if you're wanting to activate something specific, that the best way to choose your medicine is to kind of allow the medicine to choose you. So you start to open your mind, open your awareness, call in your intention of what it is that you want to work on, and then you pay attention. What did, my friend say that she just experienced? What article was open on the table at the dentist's office? Right? Like, you start to look when you're walking through the woods and you just see mushrooms everywhere.
Totally. Yeah.
So I think that the signs come and the medicines kind of draw you in.
Yes. I love this share. Yes. And this is why we say things like, oh, like, toad has entered my field. It's like, we're not just being woo-woo when we're making these statements. Like, we're really attuned to our interactions with the natural world. And when we're talking about the field, we're talking not about some spiritual mumbo jumbo, like literally like a magazine article or talk of like random people that you overhear when you're getting your coffee.
Right. Yeah. It's your field of awareness. And as we our work, I think, is to enhance and illuminate our field of awareness.
Yes. And okay, something really interesting is coming through now with the role of AI and algorithms in how our fields are becoming distorted.
Mm-hmm. So I have removed all social media from my life. Yes. I don't look at it at all, which means I'm also like out of the loop on a lot of things, but I feel
no wonder you haven't listened to my podcast.
Yes, that is why. If I were friends with you on Instagram.
You're such a purist. I love you.
Well, I was feeling like my field was getting distorted. Like I would open this app and I'm like, why is everybody selling me caftans? Like, I have enough caftans,
For me right now, it's these like facial masks, these collagen facial masks from Asia. I'm like, well, because I'm using a filter, you're telling me like I need the collagen facial mask from Asia? Like, or like literally you'll be having a conversation with someone and your phone will pick up a word, and then like you go into a social media app and then you see this, like you and I could be talking about your earrings, and then like I'd see an ad for earrings. I'm like, yes. What?
Well, and specifically these earrings, because you were near my phone and my phone knows that I bought these earrings. And so your phone coming close to my phone then advertises my earrings to you.
Totally.
But if you don't have your phone on and you're not looking at your Instagram and instead you're just opening up your field of awareness, then hopefully the information will come through of which medicine is the right medicine for you in the moment. And I also help people to tap into that, when people are trying to figure out, they know that the things that they've been doing aren't working. They know they want to go towards psychedelics, but they're not sure what. That's one of the things that I'll do with clients is, I'll really drop in and listen to what's going on with them and then feel intuitively based on my experience what I think could help the most.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so some of the experiences, I know we mentioned ayahuasca, maybe you want to share about Iboga. Iboga is like
Iboga
wild.
is a big one. So this was sort of the like after 3 years of going through this very rigorous training, like the training that we went through was not for the faint of heart. And when people ask me about it, and like I've recommended a number of people to it.
Wow.
Some who have
the training, not Iboga.
Not Iboga. I would recommend Iboga to some people, not everyone.
Yeah.
Some people who have gone towards this training I've been so impressed with and proud of as they go through it. And some that I've recommended, took one trip out there and were like, I am not doing that. But it's a very big, and I think for all of us who went through this, a very dismantling experience. And that's part of what the training was about, was kind of how dare you think that you can guide people through something that you've never been through. And I think that is, when you look at the different, like the underground psychedelic therapists and the above ground psychedelic therapists, not to say that all above ground psychedelic therapists don't have a plethora of personal experience. Many of them do. But I don't know that there's as much emphasis on you learning how to surrender, you learning how to let go, you learning how to go sleep on the floor in the dirt covered in ants for 4 days, because who knows what's going to come up in these experiences for these people. And I mean, even just today, right? You were coming here. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to be here at 4. Well, I had a client. She should have been out by 2, but it went until 4:30. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you don't know what is going to happen. Right. And you can't fit that into a 50-minute session on a couch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The expansive nature of these things. I know I'm not
And is that, I don't have any experience in a clinical setting, and I know we're starting to get into
and I'll go back to Iboga.
Field. But yeah, we'll go back to Iboga. But yeah, there's these clinical assisted ketamine session. And I mean, I'm just such a purist that I don't know, the skeptic in me is why would someone want to experience something in a sterilized environment when, again, you could be sitting in ceremony with community and
well, there's something for everybody, and like we
so
talked about before, the individualized nature of our culture. A lot of people aren't comfortable sitting in ceremony, in the way that you and I are. We're like, I love this.
Yeah, they think it's safer.
They think it's safer. They're used to the doctor healing being in this sort of sterile environment. And ketamine works there too. It is a really incredible medicine because it works in it is healing in so many different ways. I love the way I do it in my magical ceremonial way that's informed by, everything that I've experienced. But it's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, going back to this point about the training actually preparing you to be a facilitator, and not just to color this in a little bit, not because I went through this training, but just my own awareness from what you've shared and I've heard, is that there's a huge aspect of the mystery to it, of not really ever understanding what's coming next.
That is the thing that they've really hammered into us, is and in this training, they often wouldn't tell us anything. And I loved that. I had a friend that was in my training with me, and there was a cohort that went before us. And this friend of mine, she was always getting together with the girl from the cohort before and finding out what she should bring and what were we going to do and what was going to happen. I was like, don't tell me a thing. Yeah. I just don't want to know anything, because how do you prepare somebody for a psychedelic experience that's never had one before? It's really, you can't. You don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen in that experience. And so what was so cool about the training was that they almost simulated that by being like, okay, here's a bunch of psychonauts who have done tons of psychedelics. We can't give them their first LSD experience, but we can give them complete mystery, not tell them anything that's going to happen, and create the same sense of the unknown that we're asking people to come into our ceremony space or our offices and
that's really quite
towards.
Brilliant, because the mind will get in the way. I know my own mind. I can share from my own experience. The minute I know that I'm a yes to a journey and I know the medicine, all sorts of questions come in, right? Of the diet, the preparation, what is it going to do? How does it interact with this and that and my heart and then my breath and that. And so it's we get into the mind about trying to understand the information about what the components of this drug is, right? And people start Googling, and that just, I don't want to say it taints the experience,
well,
but
it creates expectations. And whenever we have, what does my friend Catherine says? She says, expectations are premeditated disappointments.
Yes, I know this expression.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really are. They're premeditated disappointments because then you get attached to them. And this is a tantric principle of non-attachment, right? You enter a journey in the deepest surrender and you practice non-attachment so that you can understand that whatever unfolds and whatever you experience is medicine, and the medicine is there to serve you, to be exactly what you need in this precise moment of your journey. And so the invitation is to not be attached to what you're going to experience, what you're going to get out of it, because that's what our whole human experience is like, I have this expectation, I'm paying for this, I want this experience, this is what it's going to be.
Yes.
And if I don't get that, then I'm disappointed.
Right. The best way to go into a psychedelic experience is using your intuition about the guide or the community that you're going to go journey with, I think. So, of course, you want to always get a referral from a trusted friend.
Hopefully people do. But I know what you mean.
But like
looking for...
Yeah, like we, many of the greatest of these things that we have to offer, you can't go online and Google. Like you can't Google me and find what I'm doing. No way. Don't try it. You'll get something completely different if you Google me, actually.
Yes. Right. You're right. Yes. You have to be
right. You really have to
use
you have to use your intuition about. Oh, is that you?
We're attuned. We're highly attuned.
You have to use your intuition. I don't know how I got from what you were saying to this, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten a little bit distracted. Do you want to go back to Gabon and to
well, I do want to go back to
Iboga?
Gabon, but to finish this thread on like being compelled to journey with a medicine is one thing, to say like I want to sit with ayahuasca, but then being drawn to the medicine via, and we're talking about signs and symbols and all this, and like seeing if it enters your field, but then actually finding the right guide.
Yeah,
how do you find the right guide?
I think that's really hard. And there's a somebody that I know named Laura Dawn. She used to have the Psychedelic Therapy podcast, and now I can't remember what her podcast is called that she's doing now, but she put out this like very long reference handbook on like how to find a good psychedelic guide.
How do you spell her last name?
DAWN. Laura Dawn was the sunrise. And it was really beautiful when I read it, because I was like, wow, this is so important to ask all these questions. Is this environment right for me? Are you a person of color? Are you a queer person? Are you a woman? Is this going to be a safe environment for your identity? That's an important question to ask. And as a queer person myself, and especially in being I was in partnership with a trans person, and we would try to go to ceremonies together, and it was really hard for them. They did not, the setting didn't feel safe. So like you have to really tune into who are you and what setting is going to be safe for you. And then, you reach out to your trusted friends, you ask the right questions, and you really tune into the facilitator's answer. Are they just trying to get you to come to their ceremony? Or are they actually the right facilitator for you?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful point.
I work from a very like earth-based wisdom, ceremonial context, spiritual and ceremonial context, but that's not necessarily comfortable for everybody.
Yeah, same. Thank you for presencing that. And when I do discovery calls with my clients as a tantrika, I share my methodology and approach, which is a fusion of shamanism, somatics, and sacred sexuality. And I lead with the shamanism intentionally because I want individuals to understand that I'm taking you on a journey that could be akin to a psychedelic experience or a medicine journey. And I want to see that they have some experience within those realms, or even just shamanic drumming or altered states of consciousness, because Yeah, and I'm talking about tantric massage, right? There are people that think they're just coming to get like a happy ending massage, and I want to, and no judgment to those other practitioners, but I want the journeyer to be really clear in their intentions and desires as well as my own, because we might not be in alignment. I might not be the right fit.
Totally.
And so very often I have to say, I am not the tantrika for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine that's even more important. I mean, it's important for me too, but just with like the boundaries and the physical, entering into somebody's physical field like that, so important. I'm so glad that you're bringing so much awareness to that.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you, sister. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And I also will help people find the right practitioner for them if I'm not the right one. I'll do, I'm trying to remember what I call those sessions. I don't remember what I call them.
Discovery calls.
I'll do a personal process exploration. That is what I call it. And that might be exploring like, what is your process? What are you looking for? There's a lot of medicines that I don't serve. So, but I know I have a big, beautiful community. So when a trusted referral comes to me and, they don't want to work with mushrooms or MDMA or ketamine or 5-MeO or LSD or any of the things that I serve, I can...
you can guide them. And I think that's a really good indicator or green flag of a good guide or facilitator if they are willing to refer you to others. I'm noticing this a lot in my own practice that there's a shift now between, like, we're not competing, right? So when someone's in that frequency, like you said earlier, is this person just trying to get you to sign up for their things? They want the economic exchange, or do they actually care about you as an individual and your soul, and they're willing to help you find the right fit,
Well, I'm actually curious to ask you some questions about screening.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, it's the most arduous process of my work.
Yeah, like how do we make sure that people, usually they come through a trusted referral, right? And if it's somebody that you know well and they know them well, then I'm
not in my
comfortable.
field. There's other ways to find me, a lot of ways to find me, right? On social Instagram, and there's a specific website I'm on called Sacred Eros, and this is a highly vetted website for tantric practitioners. You actually have to go through an application process, and not just anyone can it's not like a pay to play model that some of the sort of adult entertainers and escorts and other cam girl that side of this world are doing. You actually have to be accepted, but then even within that, I think tantric massage is Googled now heavily. And so people are just finding it via the World Wide Webs. And then I do require this 30-minute discovery call over Zoom. And you'd be surprised at how that, as a gate, I refer to it as a gate, is very hard for many people, because individuals that are drawn to or magnetized to my work are still in an unintegrated shadow state of recognizing they want something fast and here and now. So they want the massage tonight. Yeah. So they could text me that. And I just had to do it today, where I'm like, my schedule is completely booked for December, but please feel free to schedule a discovery call. And if it's in alignment, then we can look at January. Right. Yeah. So it's, I really thank you for asking the question, because I do really honor myself for my vetting process, because I'm coming from this place of understanding that what I'm offering, which is Eros, the erotic as the medicine, is also something sacred that's meaning to be protected. And I can't just offer it for an economic exchange. I'm not doing it for the money,
Yeah, it's calling.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so let's close out Iboga, because I just think that's such a...
I don't really have that much to say about it. It's not
but you went to Africa.
I went to Africa.
That's so
it was
cool.
Quite a journey. It was an incredible life. It was just an incredible life moment, to be in this village. The founder of my program, his family, his wife, and people that he's highly involved with and dedicated to are people of this village that we got to go spend a few weeks in, and they hosted us, and we were initiated. I was initiated into the Mbanji Iboga tradition. And, I don't speak any of these tribal languages, and I don't speak French. And I didn't understand really anything that was being said or the whole time. I just went, and it took, it was 3 years. This is what I was getting at kind of, I don't know, 15 minutes ago in this conversation. It was 3 years of this training of, being in the mystery that I feel like actually when I got to Gabon, I was like, oh, like this is what these 3 years have been working up to, like to be able to actually come and experience this. It was so fascinating. There was this moment, I'll just like never, ever forget this. And Iboga is it's a very intense medicine. I think it's probably most like LSD, maybe, if you were going to compare it to like another psychedelic, like maybe for me. Okay. Of course, like I said, everything is someone's own experience.
Yeah, you're looking at me, but I'm looking at you. I have zero context.
It's a pretty intense medicine. It's a very, right? You eat it. It's a root bark.
Yeah.
It's a root bark from a shrub.
Okay.
And
it's it has a very long time.
Yeah, it's in you for a long time. I mean, after I got home from Africa, I still could see the traces of the medicine in my, like in my eyes, when I was looking around when the light was right. But it has a very electric quality to it. Like you can see the electricity in the energy fields of the air. And I remember I was wearing this grass skirt that must have been, who knows, hundreds of years old. Like this big grass skirt, and I'm all painted in clay. Maybe I'll give you a photo of myself from Gabon, and that's what you can put on there. Cool. I'll be in disguise because I'm painted in clay. Painted in clay and wrapped in this like white sheet. And there's maybe 100 people from this village sitting around in plastic chairs around this big fire, and they've got bamboo sticks that they're clacking together, and it's loud, and the fire is big, and they're drumming on these big, huge drums, and I'm like dancing around this fire. We're all in circles, and people have plants on their heads, and I'm looking around, and I was like, I have actually gone as far. I think I've gone as far as there is to go. I think I've gone as far as there is to go.
Yeah. I wish you could see. I wish we were filming. Because the energy of it, like you said, electric, but it's like very fiery, right? Like earthy, fiery is the vibe I'm getting.
One of the most beautiful. It was maybe the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. To be in this depth of what it is to be human at our root. Pun intended.
Yes.
And what does it mean to be human at our root?
Just to be, like just to be in vibration, to be in connected to the elements, and to be in nature, and to really like to be in community. It was so incredible. And it was unlike anything that anybody in our culture gets to experience. And to me, it was like, I think one of the greatest blessings of my life. Yeah. I also had very, very clear instruction from the medicine that it was not my medicine and I was not to come back. So I won't be going there again, and I won't be taking any of you, dear listeners, with me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm feeling the vibrancy of the aliveness, and just to experience the intensity of that.
Really,
sounds
really
like you
fascinating.
Said, extremely expansive.
Yeah, I mean the way that this program kind of gave us these opportunities to see these different ways that the medicines have been honored, held, and used for all of time is almost unfathomable that I could have these experiences. And then the third pilgrimage was with Peyote, where we went to Wirikuta, which is the sacred site of the Peyote pilgrimage. And we were working with and learning from the Wirarika people. These are Peyote people of Mexico, and their ceremonies are very different than the Lakota teepee ceremonies of North America.
Okay. And tell us, it's a cactus.
It's a cactus. Peyote is a cactus. Yeah. I would advise all of us white people to not really go looking for peyote as a choice because it is really difficult to grow and harvest. The sustainability of it is very, very challenged right now. A full-grown peyote button takes about 25 years to mature, and this medicine only grows in a very, very specific area between like Texas and through central Mexico. And the land that the peyote is on is just being rapidly destroyed. Like we were standing there in this most sacred place, and you could just look out and you see these tomato plantations, tomato farms. And it takes, it's all of time and memoriam to that, like this medicine has come to life here. Yeah. And in an afternoon, they just bulldoze the entire thing and turn it into a tomato farm. Wow. So there's a lot of organizations and funds that are, trying to protect that land and protect that medicine. So if people are wanting to work with mescaline, it's good to go with a synthetic or work with San Pedro. That is much easier to grow and
peyote
harvest.
And
peyote, we would want to not. I mean, I went and did, and I was very blessed to be offered this opportunity.
No, sorry, I said peyote. I meant Wachuma.
Yeah, Wachuma
is San Pedro. Yeah, and tell us the difference that.
I haven't done.
It's also a cactus.
It's also a cactus, a mescaline cactus. I don't have a ton of experience with it. We will be having a ceremony though next summer, so you should come.
Yes, I'm there.
That my friend grew.
It's very heart opening.
Her San Pedro, I don't have much to share about it because I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that sustainability piece. I think that's really important when we're talking about these medicines that we're extracting from their natural environments. And there is a lot of, I think, I don't want to say literature, that's the incorrect term. There's maybe some media that is starting to talk about this more with all the medicines, because it's a process of extraction. And in that extraction, then you're losing some of the intentionality behind the heritage of it and the artisanal lineage of it in the connection to the land and the people who really understand it. So that's why
people who need it, like this peyote is medicine for specific communities and tribes who need it. That's their medicine for their lives and has been for all of time. And it should be preserved for them.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of the legalization work that's happening is, they're working to legalize many psychedelics, and peyote's on the list of ones to not legalize because, the indigenous people can have access to it legally just because it's their medicine. And if it's illegal for the rest of us, then hopefully we'll go to something that's more sustainable that is actually should be for us.
Beautiful. Yeah. What about mushrooms? What about psilocybin?
Psilocybin's great. You grow it in your closet. You can grow it. I can grow it. Any of us can grow it. I mean, I think that there's a lot of stories of extraction and colonization and things like that with anything that's going to have come from an indigenous lineage, of course. But as far as sustainability, psilocybin is those mushrooms. They'll colonize the colonizers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to shift to talking about some of the medicines that I feel you really specialize in, which are more synthetic by nature, MDMA and ketamine.
Yeah. MDMA and ketamine have been really beautiful and important allies in my life for a long time. I actually started doing ketamine recreationally when I was in my mid-20s because I wanted to stop drinking. And so I was like, let's do a little of this and I can still kind of have a little bit of fun. And it was actually a good move for me back then. I didn't know anything about the ceremonial use of psychedelics or using it in the context for healing that I use it now, but it actually was healing for me even then. And as I mentioned before, with ketamine, it works in many contexts. There's issues with it, with addiction. It's a dissociative. So people can get pretty into being gone. It's a psychological addiction that people can develop, not a physiological addiction, which is good. Better to be psychologically addicted than physiologically addicted. You can just take some mushrooms and you can, get rid of your psychological addiction to ketamine.
If we can pause here, if you could color this in a little, because I actually do feel that this is a really important topic right now. I know that a lot of folks are becoming aware of this abuse of ketamine and the addiction. So even that simple point that you made, the distinction between a psychological addiction versus a physiological one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What have you seen in the field? And what could you say to listeners who maybe have an opinion that it's bad?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't think it's bad. I love ketamine and I think it's great. And I think it works in many, many contexts. I think that if you're using anything to escape, you have to be aware of, how you want to be. And sometimes we use things to escape on purpose because it helps. Because whatever it is that we're encountering in our life is hard and we're not ready for it. And one of my teachers, she says, you know what you need to know when you need to know it. And, I just to disclose a little bit about my own personal relationship with ketamine, which I almost don't use hardly ever anymore, except for when I'm in ceremony in a bigger group. But I did utilize it for many years because it was fun. And because it felt really good, because I had a lot of healing components. And there also were ways that I used it in my life where I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to face that. So I'm going to do this instead.
Right.
And I needed to not face it for that time for whatever reason. I trust myself and I trust who I was back then, that I did what I needed to do because I needed to do it. I'm also not a very addictive personality type of a person. I love my life. Right. I have a beautiful life. I have so many blessings. I don't want to, drink it away or something.
Sure.
So I'm not necessarily
and even in that, thank you for being vulnerable and authentic in that awareness that the dissociative qualities, it's not just your body becomes like you kind of float away and you kind of disassociate physically in the body, but also similar to alcohol. So that makes sense to me. It tracks as a natural progression. Sometimes it can be an avoidance tactic, right?
It can be an avoidance tactic.
If we don't want to look at something, whether it's a trauma, whether it's a pattern we're in, or whether it's our lived experience of somebody's in our field that we don't like or whatever it is, it's just how can individuals gain the awareness or track that, or even how you're stating like you didn't have an addictive tendency, therefore you were fine in your right relations with it. But so many people aren't. Right. Yeah.
And there's this question is like, am I an addict or is this an ally? And that's a very personal question.
Yeah. How would you...
I would say that for me, that it's always been an ally. Right. You could look at me and say, well, she had an addiction.
Right. This goes back to
our first point.
About ceremony. Right. You're not in your lived experience.
And your view and my view are different.
I define addiction as a maladaptive coping mechanism. So, yeah, you can fix me. So, if you're choosing this as a coping mechanism, first and foremost, honoring that, because usually we're choosing something as a coping mechanism, like you said, because there is some trauma or something that we're trying to survive, right? So many humans are on the path of survival. Like, hopefully you get to a point where you're thriving, but if you're in surviving mode, maybe you're choosing what you're choosing as a coping mechanism. It's just how it becomes maladaptive.
Right. Well, and let's destigmatize addiction a little bit, because sometimes we're using coping mechanisms because we need a mechanism to cope.
Right.
And that can be okay.
Right.
It's not okay when it starts to deteriorate your life, negatively impact your children. I'm not an addiction specialist.
Yeah.
by any means.
I feel like I'm addicted to my phone. I mean, that's a legitimate addiction.
Seriously, you and everyone else.
I know. And it's becoming, I noticed it this year at Thanksgiving. It's not so much that I need to be with my phone or on my phone. It's not that at all. It's I'm curious your perspective on this as a facilitator of peak experiences. It's like there's something about rest and relaxation that feels so mundane, or even what we call sometimes like normie conversations about like watching football on TV and talking about the weather. Like I just can't handle that. So I literally have to choose an escape route, which either it went to like, I ended up working on my computer. I did like 3 hours of work on Thanksgiving, or it goes to like me being in the kitchen, because then I can kind of create the chaos and the stress of preparing a meal that I actually thrive on, but I can't sit in like mundane or rest very easily.
Yeah. I mean, I think that our culture has moved that way, and like the phone and all the fast everything immediate, click and buy this and have it tomorrow. And if you can't have it tomorrow, I'm like, well, what do you mean it can't be here tomorrow? I need my glue gun tomorrow.
My glue gun. Yeah. And that's why I really honor your work of slowing down and like calling people back to presence in the ceremony.
Yeah. And that's a really great reason to come to ceremony, is to take a weekend to just stop doing everything that you always do and be where you are. Look deep within. Do it in community. Mary and I. So, I should plug Mary Isis.
I know. I know. Usually I create context in the beginning of how I know people, and I met Kate through our mutual friend, Mary Isis, who's a really beautiful soul and talented musician.
So, listeners, Mary Isis, you can find her music on all of the platforms. Please look her up. She is the best.
The best.
For Mary and I, when we create these weekend retreats, or we'll have a week-long one that's coming up in Iceland, it's really about being in presence, being in prayer, singing together, destigmatizing prayer. So many people are so, the word prayer has gotten such a negative connotation because of all of the religious abuse and the way that people have been raised, but like to sit and appreciate, right? Prayer is gratitude, to sit and appreciate, or to tap into ourselves and what our dreams and desires are. It's
the best.
It's so important.
Yeah,
it's so important. And it's so rare that we find that in our fast-paced, I need my glue gun tomorrow world.
Yes.
And
thank you for layering that in, because not everyone is drawn to the medicine, but maybe you're drawn to the ceremony and the prayer, and maybe, like you said, for some folks, the prayer piece could be triggering, activating a part of their religious background, but we
have to take it back. It's like, it's a gift of reciprocity for us to be in gratitude and appreciation for everything that we have and for the natural world.
Exactly. So yes, gathering together in ceremony and all these contexts are extremely liberating, healing. And also, I know so much has come through within some of your own journeys regarding, we can call it expansion or liberation. And, is there anything there that is feeling relevant to presence regarding your own journey?
Well, we talked about a little bit before, how does this work, the psychedelic work, weave in with sexuality and, a liberated idea of partnership and family and things like that.
Yeah, please.
So maybe we should go there.
Please, yeah.
Well, when I was saying earlier about is that psychedelics are inherently queer. If queerness is this idea of being outside of the norm, outside of the expectation. Psychedelics open up our minds and the confines of the parameters of our ideas in order to bring in more complexity, more awareness, more beauty, and, you know, create new neural pathways and in this way create healing through being open to change.
Yes.
Right? Like healing is really growing and changing.
Right. And so how has it opened you up? How has medicine or some of these ceremonies opened you up in?
Yeah, my medicine work. I mean, I have been with my cis male partner for about 14 years. I always dated women before I met and married him. It was a big surprise, really, to my whole community. Like, oh, look at that. But I found this perfect partner for me. He was, you know, and I was sort of like, well, I'm queer, so I can do what I want, right?
Yes.
And then after, you know, we built such a beautiful life together. We had, you know, 3 businesses, one which I, you know, wound up selling, and, you know, our home, and we had our daughter. And then when I started down my path with psychedelics, it became very clear to me that there were parts of my being that weren't being illuminated in my partnership. So much of me was illuminated in my partnership, but there were these other parts that weren't. And, you know, the medicine kind of cracked open that lens for me of being like, well, these are things that we need to look at. And I never expected, I don't think I ever expected my life to kind of take the turn that it took as far as what our marriage and partnerships look like now. And it's been challenging, you know, I needed to find another partner because I am a very queer person, and you know, it was funny. I always joke when we met, I was like, you know, I'm a lesbian. I'm not only going to have sex with you for the rest of my life. And he was like, yeah, I know, you know, but we were having such a good time for so long that we didn't really have to go there.
Yeah. How did that feel? Just presencing, you know, that you had a daughter, and I can name that we're in the Midwest. It's a very conservatively limited lifestyle here. So how was that? Because you started to create this perceived path of marriage, kids that follows a certain trajectory that everyone accepts, and then to start to explore something outside of that.
Well, you know, my mom was always very concerned because she's like, oh, well, you know, is your daughter going to see your other partner in your bedroom? And my answer is yes, Mom, because I want my daughter to see a different paradigm of what marriage and what relationships look like. I want my daughter to have an idea of, you know, what being in a family with a trans non-binary person, like, I want her to have these people and these things and these concepts in her life because I am a queer person and I want to raise a child through that lens. And, well, what's that going to do to her? And I'm like, it doesn't, I don't know, you know, it's going to show her something different than what is expected.
I love that.
I hope.
Yeah.
You
really
know?
honoring you in that.
Thanks.
That's so bold and brave. And would you say that doing medicine work helped you to be able to make that proclamation as well?
I would say so. I think that it drives us towards our authenticity, you know, and that, at least in my work with my clients and with the people that come to me for ceremony, like, what I am really trying to teach and trying to create here is like, you are the best when you're you. And finding that truest form of who you are and learning to love yourself first. That's the work, you know? And I actually shared this with my client today because my mom and I are doing a lot of work on our relationship right now. And we got into a huge fight not too long ago. And I called up, or I messaged a friend of mine who's an expert in compassion. And I was like, butterfly, how do I find more compassion for my mother? And I thought he was going to give me some great wisdom about how to be more compassionate for my mother. And what he really sent me back was a very short text that said, here's a recommendation on a book on self-compassion. Find compassion for yourself first. And although I was a little deflated by not getting the answer that I wanted about how to be more compassionate immediately to her, it was really an illuminating moment, because our self-love and our self-compassion are actually the drivers on how we are better community members, friends, partners.
Yeah, beautiful.
Parents.
I love that. Yeah. I always feel that whatever's in our field from other humans, especially those that are the closest to us, is truly there as a mirror, right? To reflect back to us the work that we have to do on self. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. You know, one of your missions and how you guide your clients is to come back to their authentic self and expression and the wholeness that you know is possible when people can start to shed those layers of the judgment, the fear, the guilt, the shame that's been programmed into us from our parents, caretakers, religion, institutions, society, of like, oh, I have to do the thing and go to college and get the right job. And it's just so honorable. I really honor you and how you're raising your daughter. And
Thanks.
it takes courage and devotion and presence and attunement, you know, these things that you can't just, I don't know, like, I mean, of course you're leaving her to the world to uncover and unravel and do all the things that we do as parents, right? Like our kids have to learn by making their own mistakes. But for her to know that she is loved for who she is through and through, and no matter what she does or who she dates or what she believes in, that's huge.
Yeah, I just want all children to know that they can carve their own path, you know? And the best way to teach our children is through our example, you know, by doing. Yeah. And so if I were to hide my partnerships or my partner's partnership from my daughter, then I'm teaching her to be inauthentic. And that's not going to raise the child that I want to see face this world.
Yeah,
you know?
Thank you for this share. It's really resonating with me now on a personal level, because as you know, I'm a mom as well, and in my own journey of expansion and discovery, I've compartmentalized my life to protect my children from
actually I'm curious about that.
Yeah, having a deep awareness of what I do and how I show up. And even though there's a certain level of openness related to, they know that they could come to me with anything, they're not inquisitive to that extent, or, you know, I'm not sharing a lot of my life with them. And this has become deeply tragic for me. I've been very sad. I had a beautiful birthday celebration this October, and I invested a ton of money, and it was spectacular performance and ceremony and all the things, and 60 people. And it's like, I stood there to give like a welcoming speech, and I just was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like the people that actually love me, like my kids, my sister, my parents, like they're not in this space. You know,
it's really hard, and I'm resonating right back at you with what you're saying. My husband and I struggle a little bit with this, because I am like, bring her into the ceremony, show her, invite her in. And, you know, with my nieces, you know, as they're getting older, I have this big birthday celebration each year too. And I'm like, the kids should be here. Once a year. We do this. It's medicine. It is medicine. It is not bad. It is not bad drugs. You know, what we're doing is beautiful and expansive and special, and it should be shared. And I don't really believe that there is an age that is too young. I mean, of course, we want to be responsible when our children are around and make sure that there is a sober-minded person when they need anything, always.
Right.
But that's why we have community, you know, so that...
Yeah, no, I was really inspired. The last ceremony I was in with you, that a participant had her daughter here, and I actually like invited my son, who's now 17. At one, you know, he was struggling. All the youth in high school are struggling with their identity, with just their sense of self, right? And I was like, you know, you could come and sit in ceremony with me and the community and do some mushrooms. And I can't believe I'm saying this on my podcast.
I know.
But honestly, no, it's like we want to not just facilitate their own healing journey and their own growth and expansion, but we also want them to make these choices in community where it's safe. Like, this is the thing too with I mean, your child is a little bit younger, but like mine are in high school, and I'm like, I don't want you going to a party and eating a gummy and ending up in the hospital, or like taking something that somebody hands you, and like, if you want to smoke cannabis,
when we were
like, I'll buy you the cannabis. Like, I don't want you out there just taking something, you know, like there's an element of, I don't want to say control, but it's...
I was thinking about doing like a mother and teen, or like a parent and teen type of a ceremony weekend, you know, whatever, medicine or no medicine. But like, I feel like I know so many people who have older kids that have to live, these kids live in this weird phone culture.
The phone
you know,
culture,
like it's and they struggle. The mental health issues with these kids are so prevalent.
So prevalent, yeah. And even the capacity to be able to sit in a circle, like we were, the sharing, and to be able to see yourself in the other, and to understand that you are not alone, that what you're experiencing is normal. And you know, that's huge, because there's this focus, especially in America, on this isolationist and post-COVID. It's like we said, everything is by yourself. And even the focus of like self-love and self-healing, it's this isolated experience instead of learning and growing and evolving in community.
Yeah, totally. There just needs to be emphasis on it, you know? And like, everybody's got friends. Right? I mean, not everybody, but most of us do. So, but when we really emphasize our friendships, and this kind of goes back into, you know, relationship anarchy and polyamory, if we were going to go deeper into that, is like community, friendships, these essential relationships. We can't put all of our, you know, hopes and dreams and ideas in our sexual relationships or our like marriage partnerships, right? Like, there's all these other partnerships in our lives that are really important. You know, here we have a very big bathing culture here at my house. And my friend Jenny and I are always like, we need the girls to see us together in the bath, because then they'll know what being a friend is really all about and how important it is.
Yeah, to be free in our expression of nudity as well. You know, I'm a huge proponent
I know
of
you
that.
are. Josephine, put your clothes on, not here.
I'm the person that gets kicked out of the Maloka for my sacred life force energy, my nudity. I'm like, do I have everyone's consent to take my top off?
We're going to create our own special ceremony where that is where there's consent for that. Up front.
The boobies may come out, everybody. I literally do have to start. Like,
the wild women's spirit circle was the way.
I swear, Kate, like every immersive container I'm in now, I like start, in the beginning you're introducing, people are like, this is my name, this is my intention. And I'm like, and do I have everyone's consent to show my titties? Because they will come out. No, just to close out this thread on, I love that you presence being queer. I mean, and the importance of queerness and the connection of queerness with psychedelics, and fuck yeah. I mean, yeah, it's all relative. And, you know, I also identify as queer, and I was thinking about this and what it means to different people. And I think it means also exactly what we're doing right now. You know, we're like having this
conversation about all these topics that most humans would think of as taboo or off color, or we could talk about all the off color things, but we only have limited time. But it's important that we have safe spaces where we feel that we can be our authentic selves. And some humans, myself, like my authentic self doesn't fit into a box. I really don't like to use a lot of labels about myself because I'm constantly changing and evolving, and I'm very eclectic. And so, it like queer fits because it's the one label that for me means that I can always be evolving and changing. And
that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
it works for me too. I feel like it is such a beautiful terminology that we get to hold.
Yeah. And just because we might want to take baths with our girlfriends, for me, it doesn't mean that I want to date a woman. I'm not, I definitely play with women. I think women are gorgeous, but I don't want to date a woman. I don't want to be in a like devoted, committed, or romantic relationship with another woman. But
I like that myself.
You do. I love that about you. Yeah.
I do. I also like being in relationship with, my partner that I have now. And I love the idea of being able to add in other partners that suit my life, like my sexual desires are much more, leaning towards the female body or the body that was assigned female at birth.
Okay.
But like my stability and what I've got in my home and my life and what's created here with my male partner it's beautiful. I would trade it for nothing.
Oh, I love it.
So, like I said, psychedelics are this opportunity to just become more expansive and become more honest. And like, my neighbor, my neighbor the other day was like, well, I don't understand. Why don't you guys just get divorced? And I was like, why would we get divorced? Like we have so much together. Our home is together. Our child's together. Our finances are together. And we love each other and we're great friends. And we, uphold there's different things that we both contribute to our lives. Like, why don't we just add in more instead of taking away?
I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all that you do to help curate these experiences for other humans to feel into their own expansion. And the expanded states, aren't just about these peak states of ecstasy and liberation, but I'm really hearing you lay down this foundation of understanding also that it's about carving out these new neurological pathways or awakening old ones that, can really help you feel into what it really means to be yourself, your true authentic self. And that is healing, right? That's healing for so many people because we exist in a 3D reality that we're conditioned and cultured and raised and primed to think that we have to be a certain way in order to belong, to be liked, to be loved. So thank you for being an energy of ever expanding fields of love and acceptance.
Thank you.
It's really sweet.
I'm trying. Oh, thank you so much for honoring me and having me on your show and being willing to do it all not on camera so we could be in our pajamas.
Yeah, this is great.
With our nails undone.
With our nails undone. My belly hanging out.
Everything hanging out. Actually, Josephine's naked right now, you guys.
This is the real reason I wanted to be naked. All right. Love you, Kate.
I love you. Thank you so much. Yeah. What a sweet conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Universal Intimacy, the podcast. I would love to stay connected with you and go even deeper to cultivate the ultimate intimacy on this planet. Please like, subscribe, and follow. My YouTube channel is
at Temple of Loha. That's ampersand TEMPLEOFLOHA. You can like, subscribe, and follow there on YouTube. You can also listen to this podcast on all platforms and follow me on Instagram also at Temple of Loha, ampersand TEMPLEOFLOHA. To stay informed about everything that I do, all of the ways that you can work, play, and pray with me, please subscribe to my e-newsletter on my website. And my website is www.cure8chicago.com. That is CUR8 Chicago.com. I can't wait to connect with you deeper and cultivate intimacy with each other and the planet. Love you.